Hello, Bill Johnson here with a Carbon Cub maintenance moment. The project is coming along. It's been a while since I've posted a video, and I think in other videos I've talked about all the things we're doing to this plane, putting a smoke system in, which you can see there. It feeds up into the exhaust. We've put aluminum fuel lines in this plane. You can see here and back here particularly, to eliminate all of the weeping and seepage you get over time from those plastic fuel lines. We've put a horn in this plane, and you can see the horn button up here on the panel. We've moved a lot of the electrical, most of the electrical airframe components, the solenoids, to the firewall, which you can see there. A lot of that's under the seat in the way the kit is put together. And we've mounted our battery on the firewall as well. But this video is really about the boot cowl. One of the big concerns I have on these advanced avionics airplanes is just getting access to upgrade panels, make changes, fix components. Typically, you'd pull a G3X panel out, that would give you some access. But the way Carbon Cub, and I guess most Cubs, do their boot cowl is that if you need to get access to these breakers or these switches, you got to get up behind those breakers to get to the switches. It's very difficult. Some of the components are mounted in a way that getting to wires would be difficult. You have your electronic ignition over here on the side. So just getting access, typically you have to crawl up underneath there, or you have to take out the G3X. And that doesn't always give you the access you need to do things easily. So in this plane, we've done a couple of things different. First, we had to change the angle of the panel because of the length of one of the radios. This is just an extension to fill in the gap. We have made a removable panel up here on the top, which you can see here. You take that panel off and now you got easy access to those breakers and those switches. On the side, we have put a removable panel. I don't know if you can see with the glare, removable panel. That whole panel will come off. The bottom pieces will remain, the top piece will remain, but that bottom, this panel here will come off, and that will open up the entire side of the plane so that you can get access. You'd have to remove this inner panel as well, but you would have access to the avionics. On this side, here's kind of an example. I'm still working on this side. So this will be like that, and then the bottom piece will be on there as well. And we've made that panel to go on this side. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how we made that panel and assemble this side so you get a general idea of what we've done here. I think it'll look good when it's painted. This is flared up underneath so the water will run down. And this is just simply overlapped right here. Again, so the water will run down. I used a little thicker aluminum on this panel, and we're going to put some sound deadening on the inside of it as well because you get a lot of noise through here. So let's go through the process of finishing up the other side, and you'll have an idea of how we did this particular boot cowl. So the first thing we did is we had to cut out a panel, and we did that on the shear. And like I said, this slips up behind that top piece. And I'm going to show you how we made that sort of recessed area so that it slips up behind there, but it's still flush when you feel down the side of the plane. And so you can see that'll just simply slide up behind there like that. And I don't know if you can see on the camera the recessed area there. And the way we did that recess, we're using a tool from Mittler Brothers right here. And I'll show you how that works. Here's just a spare piece of aluminum. Let me try to set this up so you can see. I've received comments that my videos aren't very entertaining. Well, I'm not really trying to entertain, I'm just trying to show you how I did things. So hopefully, all right, and you can see this die is recessed opposite each other here. It's foot operated. And then you just feed your panel through there. And sometimes I do it a couple of times if I want to make sure it's a good recess. And of course, draw a line so you have a straight line to work against. And you can see when it's done that you have the recess, which allows the panels to be flush with one another. For example, that panel would be on there, it would be flush. So after making the panel, that was step one. Then we put the nut plates on the back here. And the nut plates we're using, here's a part number from Aircraft Spruce. Here's what they look like, because you want to use a recessed, a dimpled screw. These nut plates are suited for that. What they're not suited for, though, is I need to be able to use flush rivets on these nut plates, because the panel comes over the top here. So I need flush rivets. So the first thing I had to do was dimple the nut plates so that they would be, so I could use flush rivets. And let me show you how I do that using the large compression riveter. Now, you don't need a tool this large to be able to do this. I just happen to have it, and therefore makes it very easy and quick. I'm gonna try to zoom in and show you how that works. First thing I do is I test my stroke, and I get it set up so it just barely touches. That gives me enough pressure. Then you have to make sure you dimple the right way. So you can see, I hope you can see. Oops. How that puts a dimple so that the rivet will now go in there flush. And this tool makes it very easy. You can also do this with a hand dimpler, but these are steel, so it does take a little bit of force. Okay, I have a whole pile of these nut plates ready to go. And some rivets. And you can see I've already installed the nut plates on the top of this panel. And this is the one that slides in behind the top of the boot cowl. And you can see the nut plates are already on there. Now this panel lays over, this is the bottom piece. Let me show you on the plane just so you have a good perspective of what I'm talking about. So the nut plates are on this panel at the top that slides up underneath there. Of course, these screws screw into the nut plates. Down here it overlaps on this bottom panel. And the nut plates are on this panel. So I'll show you how I installed the nut plates on that lower panel. And there's also some nut plates on the inside of here as well that go onto this piece. But I'll show you how the nut plates on this one panel go on, and they go on the same way for all the other panels. So you can see this lays over the top. I have already dimpled both panels. So now the nut plate needs to go on the back of this panel. So let me move this out of the way. And so the nut plate will go on the back side. I'll flip this over. The nut plate will go on the back side, and it sits on top of that dimple. But you see, we need to drill 2 holes for the rivets and then dimple those rivet holes. So the tool I use to do that is this special cleco tool. Has the 2 holes already mounted, already drilled in this cleco. So let me see if I can set this up and show you. I've been told people like to see it actually being done. And sometimes that's hard to do when you're by yourself, but we're going to try. All right, so I'll put this out of the way. And then you want to drill it from the top side. So there's the tool. And I have a board to kind of raise it up so it's flush, so it's easier to drill. Okay, just like that. Okay. And then you put the cleco tool in this, like that. In this case, I'm using number 40 drill bits. I drill the first hole. Then I just stick a drill bit in there to keep it from shifting. And then I drill the other hole. Go to the next one. And you do the same thing, just trying to keep that straight. Okay. And you do that for all of these. And I'll go ahead and finish that up, and then we'll dimple those and rivet it. Okay, I'm going to do a few more of these, and you can see how quick it is on this machine. Of course, be careful you don't pinch your fingers. We have finished drilling the holes for the nut plates. And now, of course, we're going to need to dimple these holes so we can put a flush rivet in here because that other panel lays on top. So I've set up the riveter again for dimpling so I can dimple that panel. I will try to show that being done. Okay, I picked up that big, huge US tool riveter for about $500 from a factory going out of business. It was almost brand new. Works great for this aviation work. All right. Now the key too is make sure you dimple in the right direction. I have dimpled in the wrong direction before, and when you're this far along, you don't want to make a mistake. All right, there we go. And you can see you have the dimples. Well, let me see if you can see. There's the dimple there. And on the front side, you can see them there. So the nut plate now will go on the back side. right, we are ready to rivet on the nut plates. I've already completed one nut plate just to get everything set up. You have to adjust the height of this to give you the right amount of pressure on the rivet to squeeze it. They're very small. Sometimes I'll hit the stroke twice just to make sure I'm lined up before I actually squeeze it. Okay, so you can see how that nut plate goes on. Then the front side, you can see it's all flush. And you just go across here and let that self-center on the dimpled areas. And you can do all this with hand squeezes. It just takes a lot longer. Principle is still the same. It's just you don't have the fancy tool. Okay, so I'll do the rest of these, and then we'll put the panel on the plane. I'm going to try to zoom in on one of these so you can see better. I know it's hard to see on this television screen, but I'm not a professional video maker, just trying to help out others. I know over the years I've watched a lot of YouTube videos for help on various things, so trying to give back a little bit here. I know you're getting some glare too off of the light. The side panel has been finished. You can see we've put the screws in here. It goes against that door post. And you can see all the screws are installed and nut plates. And these are screws as well with nut plates on the back side. I use the kind of the bigger washers on the ones on this thinner aluminum here to help spread the load. It's not necessary out here. I'm debating whether to go ahead and put screws around the top, and that way this whole top panel can come off too if you remove the windshield, which would really give you access to anything you need to do in the future. And the bottom piece will be riveted down the side and across the bottom, so it won't be removable without drilling some rivets. But there's really no reason to have to get down there unless something's damaged. So that whole, if I do screws on the top, you'll be able to take that whole boot cowl off and have full access to upgrade avionics or do whatever you wish to do. And you can tell there's a lot up underneath there to possibly have to get to someday. Perhaps I'll never benefit from it, but someday down the road somebody will want to update that panel and probably be glad it's that way. So that's the boot cowl on this particular Carbon Cub. It certainly took a lot of work to make all these panels and to put all the nut plates on, and it actually took a lot of time just to figure out how we wanted to do the panel. We went through several different thought processes and decided that this was probably the easiest, and still when it's painted will look good. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it helps you in your build.